Good afternoon, badass artists. I'm Mia Luyando. We are back today to work on some jewelry. We are in Celestia, and this is our most recent book. However, next week, our new book, Firefly Falls, is going to be out on Amazon, so I will add a link in my Facebook group and and here in the description below as soon as that comes out. Not this time, because obviously it's not quite out yet, but as soon as it becomes available, I will start adding links in the description below so that you guys can find it and check it out. Let's see, what are we are doing gunmetal. I think that will be fun. Now, gunmetal is, it's kind of it's a lot of dark colors. Obviously, it's I think it's going to look incredibly good with this dress. I did want to go in. I was looking at, sorry, I'm looking at colors of her dress and trying to talk and make sense at the same time. It wasn't working out. I'm sorry. But I was just looking here. I wanted to darken up this little area of her dress real quick before we started moving forward. And I'm using Poscas today, and I just grabbed the lavender Posca. I was looking at it and realized I probably wasn't making a whole lot of sense. Sorry about that. Okay, so her necklace, we decided on gunmetal. To make any kind of metal, the best way to start is to choose 3 colors: a light, a medium, and a dark. We always talk about that. But for certain metals, sometimes it's nice to choose 4, even 5. It just kind of depends on where you're going. With gunmetal, I start with black, and I color the very darkest shadowy parts. And don't get intimidated. Black is dark. It is kind of scary. I don't use just pure black very often in my coloring, so it's a learning time, a learning curve. Don't let it intimidate you. We have our trusty Derwent eraser if we don't like it. After that, I take kind of a medium warm gray. Bring that around. Now, gunmetal is I'm looking at pencils while I'm talking to you guys again. Gunmetal has a deep, like a blue undertone. So that's when I come in with like a deep navy or an indigo blue, and I'll run it alongside that medium color. Just right alongside it. And bring it all the way up into the blue. You're not trying to make your metal blue. You're just laying that undertone so that when the light shines on it and you get that reflection, it's almost like true black, jet black hair, like Native American hair. When you get that reflection, you almost see that blue color. Gunmetal is the same way. Maybe that'll help. Sometimes I'm more of a visual person, and describing something helps me a little bit more. Now, this is not true white. This is a pale gray, almost like a 10% gray. If you're using Prismacolors, this would be like a 10% warm gray. And I bring this all the way around. And now this is my thing. I feel like there's warmth in gunmetal also, almost like a little bit of, I don't know, not really brass. But I go back in and I take a dark chocolatey brown. Posca pencils aren't numbered or named, by the way. That's why I haven't mentioned any. just kind of bring this around. And then the very last thing is your very lightest part. It's always going to have a brighter reflection. Now we started, obviously with an earring. This is a small spot. We're going to work this whole necklace as gunmetal. And there's a lot of details in this. That's kind of why I wanted to give you the heads up. This is kind of intricate. We're going to take our time, and we're going to make a couple of layers. And we'll come back and do this other earring here in a minute. But I want to just kind of, start by working our way in. Make sure your pencils are nice and sharp. I will add the link to this dagger sharp pencil sharpener, my jar link, in the description below. It's about, I think, about $30 or $40, but it's definitely a good thing. Obviously you don't have to sharpen your pencils this sharp. It has different settings. I just like a good sharp pencil so that I can really get in there and get those fine details. But having a good sharp pencil, regardless of the length of the tip, whether you're OCD like me or not, it's gonna help. It's gonna help you on these shadowy business. So I'm just kind of working my way around. This quite metal work here, so you can do as much or as little as you want. And even with the black, Posca pencils are incredibly pigmented. I don't press very hard with these at all. And I'm not really trying to scrub this color down in there. I'm just trying to give this a nice, easy, deep shadow. And we'll talk about tones and shadows and tints. There's a difference. If something is tinted, it's got white. If it's well, I'm not going to go off on a tangent there. We'll start talking about color theory, and I'll get lost for a while. But we'll do a video how colors change when you add white, gray, or black. Shadowy colors have black added. Tonal colors have gray added, and tinted colors have white added. So it has to do with depth as well. Is it a highlighted color? Is it something in the shadows? So we'll have some lessons, just like we did the primary and secondary colors. I'll try to do something better than lay out a bunch of pencils for you, but that was the only way I could think to describe it, to explain it at the time. I'm just kind of working my way down with this medium color. Need one that's a little bit, or I might just need to make that a little darker. And I don't have a darker gray in the Posca set, so I'm gonna go back over it with this black, but just over that darker gray to make it grayer still. The ones in the back are the ones you want darkest. Now I'm going to go over it again with that medium gray. And this would be like 50% warm gray in Prisma. just kind of working my way into these more medium shadows. And I'm not as detailed on these because the scroll work is a little more defined underneath them. We're letting the grayscale work for us on those. Blue alongside it to capture that kind of steel color in the middle. Remember, some of these are, it's a process. You've kind of got to work in steps, and it doesn't look like much until all of a sudden it's like, oh, wait, there it is. I see it now. You just kind of have to be patient with it. Now I'm running the blue through these through these little crevices here, the little shadows. You definitely are going to see that blue shine in the middle. But you want to go over the black instead of just laying down, the blue by itself. The layering effect gives it a little more realism. Have the brown. We're just going to add this here and there because you don't really want it to look brassy, but gunmetal does have some brown in it. And because we don't have a lot of highlights on this necklace, it's a little bit harder to see. As long as you have patience with your layers, you'll get there. You just have to be okay with it not looking like much of anything before it looks like something. I think that's the trick. That patience is hard sometimes when you expect it to look really good right away and it just doesn't. And kind of pressing through that. Well, first, for me, the impatience, and second, the fear that maybe you did something wrong, just that, because you're not sure. But you're definitely not doing anything wrong. It's just sometimes the process is a little longer. To the kind of the middle. This would be like a 30% gray, 30% warm gray. you can put as much or as little as you want in it. I'm going to go back to the darker gray. This would be a 50%. Really dark for a second. I'm going to go back to this black. Oops, sorry, I'm not getting out of focus. And remember, to get something really shiny and true, you have to have a really good shadow base for the reflections to be nice and bright and realistic. The super light gray, about 10%. I'm adding the highlight around the bottom. Each of these little loops. And there we have a gunmetal necklace. So we will go ahead and we'll finish her other earring. And I think that only leaves the background. But I hope you've enjoyed this tutorial. Gunmetal is a little bit tricky because it's not really gold, it's not really silver, and it's not, it's almost like a black shiny metal with a little bit of blue and brass undertones. It's an unusual metal, but we'll definitely do more because I think that if we get like a flat, like a tiara or something so that you can actually see the shine. This was kind of a chunky piece, And even though it looks really good and it works with this, I really like the way this looks. I think that if we do that on like a shield or a tiara or something, like a flat piece of metal, so that we can see all of those shiny, shimmery blues and stuff, it'll make more sense. So we will definitely put that on the list of metals to explore. And what else? We have a lot of stuff coming up. We have a lot of stuff, and we're working with paint this weekend, so you guys have that to look forward to next week. Okay, everybody, I think that does it. If this video was helpful, please consider giving me a thumbs up. It helps other artists find channels like ours so that they can hang out, learn useful tips and tricks, and be badass artists with us. Okay, everybody, I'll see you next time.